Strand Titan has been stupid good for the last year, and I think I perfected it to make the best Onslaught build to take care of everything the Witness might throw at you. This build allows us to stun all 3 types of champions, has a ton of suspend, and takes advantage of absolutely everything Strand has to offer, making it the perfect demise for your enemies. Let's jump right into it and take a look at what exotic we're using. Our exotic armor is going to be Abiant Leap, which is arguably one of the best Titan exotics, because it gives your Dranker's Last Barricade the perk Puppeteer's Control, which pretty much makes it like 3 times stronger. And I don't know if I'm an idiot and can't read, but I also just realized it gives you Woven Mail when you suspend targets. I had no idea it could do that. Since we're talking about suspend and Dranker's Last, let's go ahead and take a look at our subclass. It's going to be Strand in case you haven't caught on yet. And on our abilities, the only thing we can really change is the grenade. So we're going to be using Shackle Grenade, which will give us a suspend on demand that also grants us Woven Mail. And this is also what we'll be using to stun our unstoppable champions. Our aspects are fairly obvious, because we need one of them for an exotic, and the other one is just all around amazing. So first up is Dranger's Lash. In case you didn't know, Dranger's Lash is what allows our barricade to send that wave of suspend, which is then buffed by Abiant Leap. So this is obviously a must-have. And secondly, we're using Banner of War. Dude, what other fragment is doing what Banner of War is doing? All you need is just one melee or finisher kill to become a near infinite healing machine, as long as you're getting kills to keep it activated. Now let's cover our fragments. Really quick, I just want to talk about how much I love all of the Strand Fragments. Each one of them are extremely unique and fun, and it makes for a really hard time picking out which ones to use. So let's go ahead and jump into our first one. Threat of Isolation. Landing rapid precision hits emits a severing burst from the target. This will be extremely helpful to minimize the damage you and your teammates take while fighting hordes and hordes of enemies. Next up is Threat of Continuity. Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to targets have an increased duration, which is by roughly 50%. Talk about crowd control, holy shit! We'll be applying every single one of these effects to nearly every single enemy, so making them that much stronger is going to be that much better for us. Threat of Rebirth. Strand weapon final blows have a chance to create a threadling. Pairing this with a threadling gun and horde shuttle from the seasonal artifact, which we will cover later, is absolutely absurd, and I'm sure you've seen it in the background gameplay. You can actually spawn like 7 threadlings from a single enemy killed in this build. It's insane. And finally, we're going to be using Threat of Generation. So while dealing damage, we'll get Grenade ability energy. This one's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to deal a whole lot of damage a whole lot of the time, and we're going to want our Shackle to suspend enemies constantly. Altogether, this creates for an insane build, but we're going to add even more to it. So let me show you what we're working with in the seasonal artifact to send this build to a whole nother level. The first 2 required artifact mods are actually for your heavy weapon. Up first, we're going to be using Overload rocket launchers, so our rocket launchers can stun Overload champions, and also Agent Ordnance, so when you fire a rocket launcher, you'll consume 1 armor charge, getting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. So it's a no-brainer. We're going with a rocket in the heavy slot because they are just so strong this season, and this will help us stun another champion type, which is Overload. So go ahead and check that one off. And next up on the artifact is Unraveling Orbs, which will grant our Strand weapons unraveling rounds when we pick up an Orb of Power. And in case you weren't 100% sure how unraveling rounds worked, it makes it so when you shoot an enemy, it spawns these freaky little Yondu needles that seek out and deal damage to nearby enemies. They're super cool, and I love watching them rip adds to shreds. And our last required seasonal mod is Horde Shuttle. So damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. Yeah, on top of our Seeking Missiles, we get Seeking Worms that also do a ton of damage. And on top of all of that, with Threat of Rebirth, we're going to be spawning hella threadlings. Oh, and because unraveling rounds, we can also stun barrier champions, allowing us to stun all 3 champion types. For weapon recommendations, the only thing I'm 100% requiring you to use is a rocket launcher, like I mentioned earlier. My suggestions are Dragon's Breath if you have the exotic slot available, Apex Predator if you don't, because this rocket launcher is pretty much an exotic. And lastly, Semotician, because it's a high impact Strand rocket that can be crafted with bipod, field prep, even impulse amplifier. Then for your primary and special, you have a lot of flexibility, but the only thing you absolutely need is a Strand weapon. I'm talking Quicksilver Storm, Relentless, Final Warning, anything that is of Strand element, because that'll help us take advantage of nearly everything we've talked about with the subclass. And if you're looking for the perfect pair to use, I've been really loving the Incisor or Scatter Signal paired with Sunshot, because Sunshot is just so strong right now, and one of these two Strand specials will help us take advantage of all of our Strand verbs. And then to wrap it all up, we're going to cover our armor mods. Here's what we're working with. To put it simply, these armor mods will help us create orbs with solar Strand weapons and our melee kills, while it'll also allow us to hold more armor charges for our rocket launchers and to use with our grenade kickstart. And then a few more mods here and there for ability, energy, and health regen when you pick up orbs, but they're all included in the dim link in the description, so check it out there. Look, give this build a shot for me in Onslaught and tell me how you feel about it, because I feel like I've been popping the fuck off with it, but I'd love to see how it treats you. See ya!